We're back reading from Alan Leo's Astrology for All, Taurus. Got a new thumbnail for this one. We'll see if anyone comes in and stays because of it. So, chapter 5. The individual and personal character of the sign Taurus. This sign is the first of the earthy triplicity and the first of the fixed signs, and in this sign is concealed will and desire, both of which express themselves more or less in the character of the Taurians. This is, I'm presuming this is pure Taurus energy, not necessarily just Taurus sun, but I've seen this in my life. I have Chiron in the sign of Taurus and nothing else. And I've seen this in myself, though, and I've seen it in other people who do have more prominent Taurus placements, like a sun in Taurus. And it's attractive. At times it's attractive, and at times it's been like not attractive at all. I'm talking about guys, guys, girls, whatever, just people in my life that I followed, etc. And if you're with them, it's great. If you're not with them, it's horrible, because that will and desire is so rigid. This being the sign of solidity, it makes those born in it exceedingly solid, practical, and substantial. They are exactly the reverse of all that has been said in the foregoing sign. Aries being all that is idealistic, while Taurus is all that is practical. Just did Aries. Talked about a lot of things in my life because I resemble Aries probably more than Taurus in that video. And he says here, Aries being all that is idealistic, while Taurus is all that is practical. And I think when I was younger, that practicality really killed me. I'm a little bit better. I'm much better now that I'm older, but when I was younger. The Taurians are slow, plodding, patient, enduring, persistent, executive, and matter-of-fact persons. I might talk a lot of trash on Taurus here. If you just came in the room, feel free to say anything if you want to chat some astrology. But yeah, I might say some negative things about Taurus. I don't mean anything. It's all in good fun. But this patient, enduring part, the fact that they're slow to do things and slow to make decisions, that used to be so annoying to me. They are remarkable for their conservatism, and they never seem to waste their forces like the Aries types, who scatter them broadcast. Persons possessing the strongest wills are born under this sign, but when living for themselves exclusively, they become as obstinate as it is possible for them to be. And I've known a lot of Taurus people, and they're married. They're all married. They all have families. They don't really live for themselves, but they do live for their families. And I've had trouble with that, being more of an Aries, reflection of more of an Aries personality, or having an Aries life. And that's been tough as well, because you can't get in. You can't get into that little circle. They're just, it's, again, too rigid. It has to be on their terms, etc., things like that. They can be very determined, persistent, and dogmatic. They usually speak with a quiet, firm, inflexible, and almost authoritative tone. Possessing a considerable amount of physical vitality, the Taurians become very furious and violent when severely angered, but they are usually slow, careful, and cautious. It takes a very great deal to excite them. Although when very excited, they stand beside themselves with rage. They can do a great amount of good by their steady building capacity, being able and being capable and able to carry out all plans entrusted to them. They have perseverance, are steady, patient, and enduring. They can be secretive and very reserved, but make faithful friends to all whom they give allegiance. I mean, this sign combined with like, for me, combined with like Scorpio can be tough. It's kind of like the Aries when we're talking about Aries being, when Aries is fully individualized, it's amazing. It's the same thing really with all the signs. When Taurus is confident, individualized, social, if it has these other qualities, it can be amazing, just like all the other signs. Like faithful friends. But this reservedness, secretiveness, to me is a negative, and a really a negative quality all around. Maybe in today's world, it can be positive, but in general, I don't think it's a very good quality. They're excellent companions to those possessing ideas, and as coworkers, they are reliable, sincere, and trustworthy. They always seem to possess a great amount of stored up energy, which makes them very tenacious, holding on till something comes to set them free or liberate their stored up forces. As messieurs, whatever that means, and healers, they are unequaled. Earth signs are healers. Virgo, they always benefit persons deficient in vitality, having the power to magnetically heal and soothe those who are nervous and irritable. Not sure what that says, what that means. This wonderful person, someone named, he names a name and then he says, this wonderful person healed thousands of his countrymen and obtained a worldwide reputation. He was born with the sun in Taurus, and it was said of him that he had only to magnetize a handkerchief or anything that he touched to enable his magnetism to be felt by others. The mental and physical vitality of the Taurians is tremendous, and persons possessing the finest physique are often born under this sign. They are fearless and generous, and when the Venus side of the sign is not overactive, they set no store on wealth, excepting to do good with it. When they concentrate their thoughts, they have immense power and will, then has the ascendancy over desire. When the latter, desire, is most in evidence, they become very worldly and inclined to take pleasure in the good things of this life, being fond of feasting and comfort. The Taurians make the best. Before I say that, I've had some close Taurus sons in my life who had crazy will. That I met them, their family was well off. They had a farm. He grew up on a farm, and he started his business when he was like 23, and I worked for him. And he's got to be worth over 10 million right now. But back then, he just had his family's money. Other than that, I mean, this guy did it all by himself. Well, him and his brothers. His brothers helped him. His family helped him. But the will to do what he did is insane. The Taurians make the best psychic mediums, and they may be contrasted with the Aries types by the fact that they are more inclined to live in their feelings than in their minds. The true Taurian may be said to be one great feeling individual, but as the sign belongs to the earthy triplicity, it is more often physical and objective than subjective feeling. Taurus governs the neck, and as this is so constituted as to serve the head which turns upon it, it may be said that they make better servants than masters. Being trustworthy, they make excellent public servants and representatives of governing bodies, and they are often chosen by the public as officials and those who may be considered the people's servants. Taurus governs the throat, hence this may be said to be the most sensitive part of their organism. But as this sign is the first of the fixed group of signs, the heart is often affected by sympathy, and belonging to the earthy triplicity, they would suffer from dropsy and tumorous afflictions. The throat, however, should always have the first attention, and exhaustion through speech or singing should be avoided. They are more inclined to suffer through too much physical force than too little. And when giving way to what is sometimes their greatest fault, laziness, they nurse many disorders that produce rapid, fatal results. When the Venus side of their nature is in excess, they are liable to apoplexy and sudden death. This is an older book, as I mentioned, it's probably written like 1900. It would seem as though they were benefited by those things that would assist the Aries types, and it would be better for them to exchange magnetism with others and seek to obtain a more equal distribution of the life forces. They often pass out of their bodies earlier than it would be expected through a kind of magnetic stagnation, and if they were to energize their minds a little more and live less in the feelings, they would be greatly benefited in health. All tendencies to become morbid should at once be dissipated, as they bring a desponding and melancholic tendency. These persons have the ability to get money for others, and Taurus being the second sign of the zodiac, which governs finance, they are best suited for all professions in which the handling of much money is concerned. They would therefore make good bankers, stockbrokers, treasurers, cashiers, and speculators. When living more in the personal element, they are best adapted for mechanical and laborious pursuits, or where they are required to work slowly, steadily, and patiently. They are good at all executive work, but when living more in the mind than the body, they are excellent singers and sometimes capable actors. They would also succeed well in life as magnetic healers, doctors, and nurses, also in all agricultural pursuits such as farmers, fruit growers, as gardeners, builders, etc. Also bill discounters, financial agents, bookbinders, manufacturing chemists, compositors, dressmakers, florists, French polishers, house painters, decorators, collectors, insurance agents, and taxidermists. I also know a guy that I've been close with who had lots of Aries and Aquarius, and I don't think he has any Taurus in the chart, but I don't know his rising. I don't have his birth time. And he works in tech as a salesperson and makes a lot of money. And I just was always trying to figure out where's the Taurus part in this guy's life, because he's so about money. And he's always had a lot of money. And I see the sales part and the go-getting and the energy and stuff like that. But then I see his property, and he's got this property, and he gardens now. That's what he does as a 60-year-old man. He gardens, and he told me he plans on dying in that house, even though he doesn't have to. But that's all he does. He loves his gardening. So he's got to be like a Taurus rising or something. It would be well for these persons to marry those born in any of the other earthy or watery signs. That is, so far as mental or physical marriage is concerned. And then the other guy I know, he married a Pisces, and his moon is in Cancer. We may say the Taurians that they possess more vitality than any of the 12 types, and they appear to suffer from an overabundance of life rather than a depletion of it. The words "to him that hath shall be given" seem to be applicable to these persons, and it is quite natural for them to be reserved, conservative, and secretive. My dad has a moon in Taurus, and he's 74, and he's still talking about living life. He's like, I gotta find new projects to do. and they're earthy projects, earthy and mechanical. And he always says, I got to find new projects to do to keep me alive, which I'm like the reverse. The words, it would be difficult without a knowledge of planetary configurations at the time of their birth to say whether they would be dominated by will or desire. You could see, like, maybe if Leo's involved or another fixed sign, it might be will, and then desire could be maybe Sagittarius or even Scorpio to a certain degree. But as he's saying there, you got to look at the rest of the chart. Either one or the other would tend to predominate. But in all cases, they would lean more to the objective and concrete rather than the subjective and ideal. And owing to this, they often pass through a period of materialistic thought, which leaves a strong impression on their future actions. They appear to be born to realize the practical demonstration of the working of the law. Yeah, and I would say to that, a lot of people misconstrue this. And this is the last thing I'm going to say for this. That's the end of the chapter. That if you are a Taurus person and you have this strong desire or will to gain abundance or to make money, etc., from my perspective as an astrologer, I'm seeing people find themselves in a life where, and this is what they kind of lean to, but that doesn't mean that they have to essentially live that life and only be around people who think like that. So I'm looking at, depending on what the chart looks like, that's their life. It's going to be that. You can often look at people with Taurus stuff, like the people that I mentioned. They're going to have money. They come from money. They're going to have abundance. They're going to have all of these things, the stability, the conservatism. It's all going to be there. They're not going to drastically change their life. So the people that are involved, they're involved with, don't have to be like that, because oftentimes Taurus people may confuse that and think that, and maybe have that fear that they can't do certain things, or they can't be around certain people, or they can't have these people in their life because they're this. And that's not the case at all. If you just look at your life, especially if you're a Taurus person and you have these things or these qualities, they're always going to be there for you. So that is Taurus. Thanks for joining me tonight. I'm going to end this. I might jump back on for Gemini. We'll see what happens, and have a good night.